There was a time when I couldn't even pay our electric bill. Now I have savings, peace, and a plan. All because of one book I almost threw in the trash. It was a quiet morning in our small town in South Dakota. The sunlight crept softly through the kitchen window, landing on a pile of dishes from last night's dinner. The coffee maker hummed lazily, filling the room with that comforting smell that makes you feel somehow everything will be okay. At least for now. My husband Tom was putting on his old work jacket, the one with a tear near the sleeve that I'd been meaning to fix. He works at a small motorcycle repair shop just outside of town. We don't make much, but he's proud of his work. Our daughter Emma, 7, was already awake, sitting cross-legged on the couch watching cartoons while trying to tie her shoes. Jacob, our 4-year-old, was running around with his superhero cape, laughing so loudly that the neighbors probably knew we were up. And me, I'm Amanda. A stay-at-home mom, part-time cleaner, and full-time juggler of bills, meals, and worries. We're not poor, exactly. But every month, as the end drew near, I'd feel that familiar tightness in my chest. That anxious heartbeat when I opened our bank account and whispered, "Please, let there be enough." I used to think that was just how life worked for people like us. You work hard, pay bills, hope nothing breaks, and start again next month. It felt like running on a treadmill that never stops. Then, one afternoon, something unexpected happened. I was cleaning a big house on the other side of town. One of those tidy, perfect homes with big windows, white curtains, and the faint smell of expensive candles. While dusting a shelf in their living room, I noticed a small, worn-out book half buried under a stack of magazines. Its cover was faded, the corners bent. It looked like no one had touched it in years. The title read, "The Total Money Makeover" by Dave Ramsey. I don't know why, but I picked it up. Maybe curiosity, maybe boredom. I flipped through a few pages, saw words like debt snowball, emergency fund, and financial peace. It sounded fancy, something for people who already had money to organize. Still, when I finished cleaning that day, I quietly slipped the book into my bag. I told myself I might read it later, but of course I didn't. It ended up in the bottom drawer of my bedside table, buried under old receipts and broken pens, forgotten for months. Things only got harder after that. Groceries went up. Gas prices too. Tom's hours were cut back at the shop, and I started picking up extra cleaning jobs just to keep up with the bills. There were nights when we'd whisper in the dark, wondering if we could afford Christmas gifts this year, or if we'd have to tell the kids Santa was on a budget. One afternoon, while cleaning our bedroom, I decided to throw away some clutter. As I opened that old drawer, I saw the same dusty book again. For a second, I didn't even remember where it came from. I almost tossed it in the garbage bag. But then I saw the title again, The Total Money Makeover. Something about it made me pause. Maybe it was the word makeover. Maybe deep down, I wanted a makeover too, not just for our finances, but for our life. So I pulled it out and decided to keep it. That night, after the kids were asleep and Tom was watching TV, I sat on the edge of our bed, holding the book. I didn't expect much. I just thought I'd skim a few pages before bed. But something happened. From the very first chapter, I was hooked. One line hit me like a quiet thunderbolt. Pay yourself first, even if it's just a few dollars. I read it 3 times. I'd always thought saving was something rich people did after paying bills. But this book said the opposite. That saving is how you become secure. Another line said, if you don't tell your money where to go, you'll always wonder where it went. I looked at our life, and it was true. Every month, money just disappeared. Groceries, gas, small treats, a few Target runs, and suddenly it was gone. As I kept reading, I realized something powerful. I didn't need to earn more, I just needed to manage better. The author talked about baby steps, small, simple things that ordinary families could do. The first step was saving $1,000 for emergencies. The second was paying off debt using the snowball method. He told stories of real families, people who started by saving just $50 a week and eventually paid off all their credit cards, car loans, and medical bills. One line I underlined was, Your income is not your problem. Your habits are. It was like he was talking directly to me. I started to imagine what our life could look like if we just had a little breathing room, a little peace. One chapter said something I'll never forget. An emergency fund is your peace fund. I stopped reading and just stared at that sentence. Because peace, that's what I wanted most. Not luxury, not status, just peace. So I decided my first goal would be to save $1,000. Not for fun, not for a trip, but for our peace fund. That night, I wrote it down on a sticky note and put it on the fridge. $1,000 for peace. It felt impossible, but also exciting. Another line that changed me was this. Financial peace isn't a math problem, it's a behavior problem. That hit me hard because I'd always thought money management was about numbers, about how much came in, how much went out. But he was right. It was about behavior, about self-control, about saying no when your emotions said yes. I realized I didn't need another spreadsheet. I needed discipline and belief. The next morning, I grabbed a notebook and started tracking every expense, every coffee, every pack of gum, every dollar spent at Walmart. It was uncomfortable at first. I didn't like seeing how careless I'd been. But I kept going. I made a grocery list before going to the store and stuck to it. I started meal planning. I compared prices, looked for coupons, bought in bulk when it made sense. For the first time, I wasn't shopping to feel better. I was shopping with purpose. We set up an automatic transfer. 10% of Tom's paycheck went straight into a separate savings account. The first week, it was just $45. But when I saw that little number grow, I felt something new. Control. For the first time, I wrote in my journal, I feel in control. At first, it felt pointless. $45 here, $20 there. What difference could that make? But 1 month later, I opened the savings account and saw $230. It wasn't much, but it was ours. Money we had decided to keep. That small victory changed everything. I started to believe the book wasn't just for people with extra money. It was for people like us who wanted to break free. 6 months later, our lives were different. We had an emergency fund. We had no overdue bills. We even saved enough for a small weekend trip. Our first real vacation as a family. We went to the Black Hills, stayed in a cheap cabin, and roasted marshmallows by a campfire. Tom laughed more that weekend than I'd seen him laugh in years. And as I watched our kids chase fireflies, I realized something beautiful. That old, dusty book didn't just teach me about money, it taught me about hope. Now, when I think back, it feels almost magical that something so small could change so much. I still have the book. It sits on my nightstand, no longer dusty. Sometimes I open it and reread the parts I underlined, especially when life feels overwhelming again. And if I could tell every mom out there one thing, it would be this. Sometimes the answer you need is already in your drawer. You just have to open it and start reading. Because every dollar you earn has a story, and it can be a story that stays with you if you learn how to keep it. That's what I learned. That's what the Total Money Makeover gave me. Not just financial peace, but real peace. And once you feel that, you never want to go back. If you've ever felt tired of money controlling your life, trust me, I know exactly how that feels. So please like, share, and subscribe to Smart Family Finance, so you won't miss more real stories like this one. Who knows? Maybe the book that could change your life is already waiting somewhere nearby.